Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for a long time coming. My name is Eric Siler. I'm a professor of film, media arts, and communication, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by two of the subjects from the film, Frederick Hordestein and Jerry Cowart. You may recognize them from the film. Frederick Augustine is in Pensacola, Florida. He plays second base in the film, and he's also worked in ministry and did prison ministry for a number of years as well. His favorite team is the Dodgers. Hello, Freddie, and welcome.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So good to have you here today.
I am delighted to be here. I've been thinking about this ever since I heard about it, and today is the day.
It is the day, indeed. Next, we have Jerry Cowart. Jerry Cowart is in West Virginia, but his favorite team is the Atlanta Braves, and he was in the film. And he hasn't played baseball since he played as a young boy. After high school, he went on to the Navy. He's worked in a lot of different fields, from working with Xerox and doing racehorsing and being a claims adjuster, but right now he is just enjoying life, and he's joining us here from West Virginia. Hello, Jerry, and welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Well, it's so good to have you. Let's get right into this. You got a call, both of you. I'm just going to start with you, Freddie. You got a call to say, "Hey, I'm making this documentary about that baseball game you played back in 1955. Do you want to be in it?" Well, what was your reaction when you got the call to be a part of this documentary?
When I got the call of the documentary that was in process of being made, I was excited about that. Just to see how it would go on our end in Pensacola. Guys came down in March, and we met at a field. I think it was Demetrius who said, "Listen, says." When we come to Pensacola, we want to go to a place where you all couldn't go when you were growing up. So that meant we went over in East Pensacola Heights, and the rest is history. And you'll see in the film later where some of the children were out of school for spring break, and they came over and asked Ted Haddock, "Hey, what are y'all doing?" That's what the kids say. He said, "Well, we're getting ready to make a documentary of a 1955 Little League World Series." He said, "Can we be a part of it?" He said, yeah, you can be a part of it. Take this claimer slip and go home and get your parents to sign and bring it back. And the rest is history.
Well, that's a wonderful recount. Jerry, did you have the same experience when you received the call? What was your feeling like when you heard that?
I was really excited about it too. I was at the time, I was just wondering, why are they making a documentary about that game? We had no idea what we did when we did it. It was crazy.
Okay, that's interesting. You had no idea you did what you did it when you did it. Well, can you explain that a little more? Was this just like a baseball game to you? What was it to you as a young boy?
It was just another baseball game. We were excited to go. I'd play anybody. I mean, we'd beat everybody around the Orlando area in Central Florida. So we were excited about playing anybody. But I remember that day, they told me that about 1,000 people were there, and I couldn't tell you if there were 2 people there. I was so excited about playing the game.
Okay, well, good. So you just ignore all the I guess at that time the adult stuff. You said let the adults worry about their problems. I just want to play baseball.
Well, we had one idiot coach that quit, and we couldn't figure that out. Why does he quit? I mean, it's just a baseball game. But that guy was my coach during the regular season too. So okay. I played for Seal Test ice cream. Every time we won a game, we got a free ice cream. That was awesome.
Oh, that's great. I bet everyone wanted to be on that team.
What an incentive, right?
That is. Oh, that's good. Makes me want to play baseball. So good. Let's go over to you, Freddie. So what was it like for you? Was it just another game to you, or was it a little bit more meaningful than that?
You mean the Lily World Series?
Exactly. When you played
Oh,
Jerry's team, he
oh
said
yeah,
it's
it
just
was it
another
was it
game.
was it was it was exciting knowing that we were getting a chance to leave home and be gone for a few days because during that time we didn't do anything like traveling, and so to get a chance to go to do something you like doing, we thought it was exciting, even though back in '55 racism was at its highest, more or less. But we
Oh, you're muted, Freddie. Let's see if you could just touch your mute button, Freddie, and unmute yourself. I think you accidentally muted yourself. uh, you could do that. It's good in there. It's still muted. It was a great answer, though.
we found
So, okay,
service
there you go.
that would allow us to use their bathrooms and drink from their water fountains from Orlando to Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah, so going from Orlando to Pensacola, Florida, you mentioned it was exciting just to travel because that's a little ways away. That was what it was about a 10-hour car ride, bus ride between the two cities.
A little less than 10, probably about 7 or 8.
Seven,
7,
eight.
8. Mhm.
Okay, but still, nonetheless, you got a chance to travel to see something
Yeah,
a
we got
little different.
yeah, we got a chance to travel, and then the fact a group of boys being together.
Exactly. So, okay, you get into Orlando. And when you got to Orlando, did you have a chance to practice? Did you have a chance to go on the field? Did you have team meetings? Tell us what happened before the game.
Yeah, we practiced. Our practice field, I remember very vivid today, was Boone High School. That's where we practiced at, Boone High School. And closely uh, to Boone, they had these orange trees, that were basically on the campus. And while practicing, we just went over there and pulled out a few oranges off the tree. And that's what we did. But, you know, back then, you didn't live in Holiday Inns, um, Marriott, places like that. But we had the person that took care of all the logistics for us. They had places for us to stay, places for us to eat, and to make things as possible for us as they could.
Okay, so let's move on to you, Jerry. The day before the game, did your team practice? Did you know who you were playing, or was your team just good and you just realized, okay, we'll just take on anyone?
Actually, uh, it was just another game to me. I didn't prepare anything. All we had before the game was just like infield practice. They'd hit a few balls to us and just to warm up. That's about all we did.
Okay, and tell me, what position did you play during the game, Jerry?
Second base.
Second base. Okay, your counterpart with Jerry, with Freddie. I mean, okay, and with second base as a do you remember how you did during the game? Did you get a hit? Did you score any runs?
I have no idea. I thought I struck out every time I got up.
Okay.
But then I looked at the scorebook of all the games we played, and I said, "Gosh, I got a hit in that game." I couldn't believe it because from my memory, I thought I struck out every time.
You did. All right. So eventually, your team won the game, and I just want to know, after the game, back then, I mean, today people shake hands. Did you shake hands after the game, or was it, or what happened after the game?
I hardly remember, but I do believe we did
Okay.
shake hands.
Okay, you did that, and that was customary back then to still shake
Right.
hands, no matter
Well, you
what
just
the
went
race of
by
the
and
team
slapped the guy's
was.
hand, it wasn't like you shook his
Exactly.
hand.
Right, right. Just saying the good game kind of
Right.
thing. Okay. Oh, good. So uh, after the game, I know your team went on to advance, and did you go on to the next round? Did you lose? Did you win the next round, or do you
Well,
remember?
the next round was against Miami, and we played them for the state championship. And the game was pretty tight. I mean, after 6 innings, it was 0-0, and then they put Stewart in pitching because Danny Ravenbart was pitching, and they put Stewart in, and he walked about 3 people, and they said, "Oh my gosh." So then they put me in, and the guy already had 2 balls on him. So I loaded the bases up, and then I threw 2 strikes to a guy, first 2 pitches, and I said, "What? I'm gonna sneak a fastball by him." So I tried to throw one about his knees, and he hit it to the shortstop, and Danny couldn't get it to the catcher in time. So that's how we lost 1-0 in the 7th inning.
Oh,
Wow.
what a heartbreak. What a heartbreak.
And I was a losing pitcher.
That's well, you have that claim to fame in that sense.
Right.
Sense. So let's go over to you, Freddie. We have some questions coming in, and this is for the
Okay.
both of you. Yes, this is for the both of you. Someone wants to know who inspired you to play baseball, Freddie?
Well, really, that's what we did when we were growing up, was to play baseball. Nobody inspired me to play. It was just that I wanted to play because it was the game that everybody played during the time that I was growing up. And so I took interest in it myself, and I did pretty good, at playing until we met those Cowart guys from down in Orlando. Yeah, Jerry said he thought he didn't get a hit, but I know I didn't get one.
Right. So, oh yeah, I know in the film you said that it was it was the only thing we had to do playing baseball. So today,
Right,
a
right.
lot of young people play video games, but back then people played baseball.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, back in 1955, video games weren't accessible. So we had to make our own sports. Well, we did our own things during that time to be successful. But baseball, I mean, I've read, I mean, baseball has been in existence, I believe, down through the 1800s.
Mhm.
I've read books on people, that played before Jackie Robinson, way back before Satchel Paige. Baseball has been a national pastime. In fact, what's so exciting about it, when we got to go to the museum in Cleveland, we saw some history in that museum, and that how baseball, had been around for a long time. I was so excited to see a women's chest protector, one that I had never seen before. I didn't know women played baseball. So baseball has been around for a long time.
Indeed, it has. So, well, what about you, Jerry? Who inspired you to play baseball?
Like Freddie said, that's the only thing you had to do. But we played baseball as soon as we got out of school. We played baseball somewhere, if it was just playing catch or whatever. But that's all we did was play baseball. It was our life.
Is your life. And also being in Florida, you were able to play it most throughout all year round almost because of the
Oh,
good weather.
Florida's got the best weather for that. It's an awesome state for baseball.
So, oh, well, what did you do when it rained?
Watch TV.
You watch TV or cry waiting for.
That's about it.
So
we were hoping that it didn't rain.
Well, the good thing about Florida is if you got a game at 5 o'clock and it's raining at 3, don't worry about it. You're going to go right out and play because
Yeah.
the rain comes down, soaks in the ground, and you're on.
right.
Games
ready
don't
to
get
go.
rained out very much.
I see. So with that, that's good to know. You know, it makes people want to like live in Florida, especially if you're a baseball fan. So we have a number of questions coming in. So let me just try to get to a couple of them as they're coming in. Oh, here's one. Do you have any moments in your life that you wish would have been different, and do you have any regrets? So I guess they're asking, based on your experience in playing baseball, do you have any moments in your life you wish would have been different, and do you have any regrets? I'll throw it out to either one of you.
Who are you asking?
Oh, either one of
Okay.
you. Jerry, why don't you go ahead first,
Oh.
and then we'll go to Freddie.
Well, when I played baseball, I was so small that, I mean, I was like 5'6" when I graduated from high school, and I grew 4 inches and gained 50 pounds in the Navy. So I was really a small child. And when it came to running at 90 feet instead of what we did in Little League, I just thought it was, man, I'm going to get tired before I get there. So I had a golf course near me. And so that's why I started playing golf when I was very young, like 13.
All right, so you have no regrets or anything for what you did
In my
in
whole
life?
life.
Right, I guess, yeah.
Oh, I guess so. I mean, I did a lot of stupid things, a lot of decisions you make. Sometimes it's just whatever path you take. But I think I'm happy to be saved. I can tell you that.
What about you, Freddie? Anything in life you wish you had done different or any regrets?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've done a lot of things that as I sit here today behind this desk that I wish I hadn't done, but you can't go back and rectify those things, but you just gotta be positive from here on. And so that's what I try to do. But in relation to baseball, I enjoyed playing it. While I was playing it, it was important to me that I got a chance to play and that I played. And so I put my all in it. And when I played my last game, that was it. I haven't played any baseball since.
All right. So have you coached baseball at all or done any?
No, I haven't been the coach for baseball. I thought about it, but I never got around to doing it. And now it's past that state now where I would be interested in coaching. I think about it sometime, but it never materialized in my life.
Mhm. Well, here's a question directed at you, Freddie, is how did you feel being discriminated against as a youth?
Well, during that time, we knew how it was. That's just the way it was at that particular time. And so we had to make an adjustment, of how life really was. And once you know what the situation is, then you can make an adjustment to make the situation be much better. But I find it hard, Eric, being a part of that 1955 Little League baseball team when it was first integrated, and to meet guys like Jerry and Bill and Stuart, and see how we've come to love each other since we really met. You really gotta learn people, You know, you really got to learn people. You got to know what people like and what they dislike. And then when we get together, we'll find out that we have more in common than not in common. But the thing that bothers me the most is what hurts me the most is to see how things are now compared to 1955 when we should be better. But my estimation of it, we're worse. So the adjustment still has to be made.
Right. It's an evolving process. Life is, and sometimes you do go backwards to go forward. Hopefully, to go forward with that. Some very interesting words there, Freddie. Thank you for that. Here's a question for you, Jerry. Is what can we do to get involved with youth groups in our community? So, what do you feel, Jerry, that people can do to get involved?
Well, you can find out where they play Little League. I'm amazed up here in West Virginia at the Little League guys when they go out to practice. I mean, they got 4 and 5 adults helping them. It seemed like I coached my kids when they were little, and I couldn't get one adult to help me on that team, not one. But it seems like they come out of the woodwork now. So, all you got to do is find some people, find where they're playing baseball, try to get involved. If you want to get involved, you can get involved. A lot of people just don't want to bother.
It don't. So you can, yes, you have to take the time out to do that. And one thing I want to ask is that things have evolved. Now in Little League, you have girls playing in the Little League. How do you feel, Jerry, about girls playing in the Little League?
Hey, if they're good enough, who cares? That's all I got. If you're good enough to make the team, and you shouldn't have any prejudice toward girls, because they're a girl, if they can make the team, let them play. It's not like you're playing a contact sport where you got to tackle them or something.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Freddie? You feel the same way, having playing with girls and boys in the Little League?
I don't think anything is wrong with it, but I guess in this 21st century in which we live in, people are always trying new things, and some girls are better than some boys, and so they just don't want to compete against girls alone. They want to compete against boys as well, and so that's why we we have these girls wanting to play Little League baseball with boys. Is there anything wrong with it? I don't see where it is.
All right. So, so as a young boy, I mean, I'll ask you both of you this. How would it feel if you got struck out by a girl?
Well, you just got struck out. It really doesn't matter whether she was a girl or a boy. You just struck out.
Absolutely, yes, because they
Believe
are
me,
talented.
If you ask a girl for a date and she says no, you just struck out.
Touche. Excellent point. Excellent point. Yes, it doesn't matter. They're talented. They're talented. So
yes,
I like you. I like your views on that, and I hope everyone will reflect those views as well too.
What do you call it? Inclusiveness?
Exactly, being inclusive.
Yeah.
As well. But it's funny that you mentioned being inclusive. Can you talk a little bit about Freddie growing up in which you weren't included, in which you had to use separate. Okay, you're back on mute again, which you had to use separate bathrooms and restaurants and so forth. Can you talk about what life was like? Did it become normal for you, or was it a feeling of that you felt like you wanted an equal opportunity? Can you talk a little bit about that? I don't know if you are there, Freddie. It's like you're frozen. I think
Yeah.
I'll give you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you hear me?
We hear you. Mm-hmm.
I missed the question. What was the question?
Oh, the question was, you talk about being inclusive in terms of girls and boys playing together, but you grew up in a time in which you weren't inclusive because of your race.
Right.
Can you can you talk about that as a child? Did you feel really angry not being able to do the same things that white kids were able to do, or is it something you just accepted as a part of life?
Well, that was in existence before I was even born. And so what we had to do as blacks, we had to take advantage of every opportunity that we had. Eric, I want to tell you this. I went to the funeral just on last week of my seventh grade homeroom teacher, 1955. She lived until she was 99 years old. And in 1955 was the same time that we were playing Little League Baseball when we went to Orlando. And things were segregated. But like I tell people, I graduated from a predominant black school, which I feel as if we got a good education. I feel as if not only did our teachers instruct us, but they loved us, and that made all the difference in the world. That's why some of us are still here today, and some of us are still being prosperous and doing good things because of not only being uh, taught the right things at home, but also coming to a school where our instructors loved us. And that makes it so much important in a society today, whereas we have access to everything, but we so far apart until it's just unreal.
That's good to know that is. Let me turn it over to you, Jerry. Rephrasing the question in a different way. How was it growing up as a young boy? Did it really matter to you that you had certain privileges that Black kids didn't have? Or did that really matter to you growing up? Or is that something you thought that was something the adults had to worry about?
Well, when you're growing up, it really didn't matter to me one way or the other because you didn't know any different. I was with my mom one time in a store in Orlando downtown called Crescue's. And I looked over there and I saw two water fountains. And one of them said white, the other one said colored. And I asked my mom, I said, what is that? They got two water fountains. Oh, she says, oh, the Negro people drink from that fountain and we drink from the other fountain. I said, well, that's kind of stupid. You could just do it with one fountain. And that's the only exposure because no Black child ever went to school with me. I mean, until I got to Rollins College. I mean, the first person that I associated with was when I was in the Navy that was Black. We had an electrician and that was a Black fellow from California. And that's the first exposure I've had to, like boot camp. If you don't have the exposure, you don't know the difference.
You don't. But so the day of the game, you didn't know the difference, even though it's the first time you played an all Black team. Did it really matter to you, or were you looking at?
Not a bit. I just wanted to play baseball.
Okay. All right.
It could have been a team of girls. I didn't care.
Okay.
Let's play.
Yes, as long as you didn't strike out.
There you go.
One person wants to know, Jerry, what would you play if it wasn't baseball? What is there another sport that you had an interest in if baseball wasn't available to you?
If I'd started playing golf when I was 2 years old, I would have loved it because I wrote my ninth grade thesis on being a professional golfer. And we had to write letters to somebody in the profession. And I wrote a letter to Bobby Jones, who's the greatest probably amateur golfer ever lived. And he wrote me a letter back and encouraged me, to practice and keep playing at it. And wow. Of course, my civics teacher kept it. So I wish I had that today, but I don't.
I wish you did still have it. Okay, staying with you, Jerry. Were you ever, this seems like a question for Freddie, but I'm going to ask you this, Jerry, too, and ask Freddie. Were you ever bullied because of your color at all, Jerry? I'll ask you first. Were you ever bullied for being a white person?
just by kids that were bigger than you thought they could beat you up. That's the only, that's the only thing. People, some kids get attitudes and they think they're real tough. And I was always real small, so I tried to stay out of fights as much as I could.
Okay. Yes, just stay out of fights and just play baseball. What about you, Freddie? I'm pretty sure you'll have a different answer. Were you bullied because of your color?
No, I was not bullied, but I knew that racism was prevalent, but I can't think of an incident that I ever got into between a white kid and myself. But I often say this: um, even though we didn't go to school with whites, but in the community we played against each other on the weekend. So we've always had competition against white kids. That's just what we did when we were growing up. We knew how to make things work, and that's exactly what we did. And I don't feel like I've lost out on nothing by being black, because I know the philosophy of life, and life in general has been real good to me. I probably can't compete with Jerry, because when I first had a chance to meet Jerry is an interesting guy, and just to hear him say that he wrote a letter to Bobby Jones, one of the greatest golfers that ever played. That's exciting to me, and every time I'm in his presence, I always learn something new about Jerry. But on the other hand, Eric, my cousin, he lived in Bessemer, Alabama. He was interested in being an FBI, and he wrote J. Edgar Hoover a letter. And do you not know he visited him at his school in Bessemer, Alabama, and he ended up being an FBI. So life has some things that we don't really understand, but if you hang in there and if you be steadfast, if you be unmovable, you can almost reach your goal.
Yeah, just hang in there. Just a
Yeah.
follow up to that, someone wants to know. I know, Freddie, you mentioned you went your high school was all your school was all black that you went
Mhm.
to. So what was it like growing up in the 50s, knowing that in school it was all black, but once you left that school, you were in a segregated society. So can you expand on life, like that back then?
So what, Eric?
Okay. Can you
Come
expand
back.
on what your life was like back in the 50s, even though you went to an all black school and after school, you were in the society that was segregated?
Well, I was in a society that was segregated, but like I said, I've always been able to succeed. The odds, the odds have never kept me down. Um, it's just you just gotta set a goal for yourself, and after setting the goal, you gotta say, I can't be stopped. I must achieve. I must be successful in doing what I need to do. Um, even though we went to uh, black high school, all black high school, that was still predominant black HBSC, black colleges,
Mm.
and kids graduated from high school and they went to college, and that's just how it's been. And it was like that then, and it's still like that now. The foundation is set. All we got to do is just take advantage of what is offered to us.
Very good. Going over to you, Jerry, since this documentary came out, how has it impacted your life? Has it changed your life at all from the reactions of people? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess some of the people that have seen it are amazed because I was in it. Oh, I don't know. I don't guess it's changed my life any. Uh, I got to meet some guys that were, I mean, just awesome guys that, you don't meet every day, like Freddie and the guys that are on the team, in Pensacola. I mean, I was, excited when we went to Pensacola to meet them for the first time. As you could see in the film, I mean, we were hugging each other. And I mean, when we went to Pensacola to see the Yahoos play, Wahoos, not the Yahoos. uh, I, I was amazed by just being with the guys again. I mean, Freddie and I just grabbed each other and hugged each other. And the paper took a picture of it and they put it in the paper. And I had a copy of it made, but I sent it to Ted and let Ted have it because I thought it was a really good picture of me and Freddie.
Hey,
So,
yeah, I
so
remember.
when you saw Freddie after all these years, did you remember him at all?
No.
You did. Okay. Okay. But you remember the game. Okay. So good. So here's another question. We got quite a few questions coming in. I want to try to get to the an idol. Did both of you have a I'll go to you, Jerry, an idol growing up, a favorite player or an idol growing up? If so, who was that?
Ted Williams, I guess.
Ted Williams. Okay, good. And what about you, Freddie?
Well, I think back on 1955 when the Dodgers beat the Yankees in the World Series for the first time. You know, I think about all those guys that were on the Dodgers team, like San Ambrose, you know, Jackie Robinson, Pee Reese, all those guys. You know, they were great ball players, and they finally got accomplished what they needed to accomplish after all those years they had faced the Yankees. So I still like, you know, history of what the Dodgers did during that time. Because during that time of 1955, that's the first time I ever got a chance to see a World Series. And it was at junior high school, the same place where my physical education instructor invited me to take part in the Little League baseball team.
So another viewer wants to know, have you had any more reunions between the two teams since the film?
Oh yeah. We tried to have one every year until the COVID broke out. I mean, we got invited. Ted had everybody get together, and I loved it. I remember they had one at a seafood place in Pensacola. I think I was the only guy there that went from our team, but I try to do everything I can every time they have something, you know, to get together with all the guys.
That's good to keep in touch with the players. You know, that's part of keeping history alive as well too. As well. So Freddie, someone wants to know is how do you feel about, or they want to know, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter and the impact that they're trying to have upon society?
I feel that as though all lives matter. Black lives matter, white lives matter, all lives matter. But I think we all ought to be treated fairly, according to the Constitution of the United States, Declaration of Independence. These things have already been set in place, and people need to abide by them. So because they're not abiding by them, that's why they had these protest marches, and I think they were good. I think they opened up eyes of a lot of other people that didn't really know, and they got involved in it too. So you just can't say Black Lives Matter. Certainly, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter, especially when we get together instead of us being apart. Then we become one.
Yes, spoken like the minister you are. Thank you for those words. Going over to you, Jerry. When did you realize that that game that you played in 1955 was something special? Did you realize it back then, or did you realize it was special when you got approached to be in the documentary?
When I got the phone call to go to be in the documentary.
Okay.
I'd like to
And
say something about what you just asked Freddie. You know, like all lives do matter, but to me, lives don't matter. It's your soul. Your soul better be ready to go to heaven, or you know where you're going to be going. And I think more people should start reading the Bible. They should start practicing what they preach, and they need to get saved. There's so many people out there that are not saved, and that's my opinion about it. Your soul is what matters.
yeah, so treating people, everyone the same, and making sure your soul is correct in that sense. Um, So a few more questions. I'm just going to try to get a few more in before we run out of time here. Is uh, what when you feel like Jerry, when you feel like giving up, what are some things that you do to bring yourself up to make yourself feel better?
Hug my wife.
Right. That's
I
good. That's
I don't know. My wife and I read the Bible every day, and we have Bible study in the mornings, and I really enjoy that. And I feel sorry for so many people out there that aren't reached. And I know I should be out there trying to reach people, but I try to be the best person I can be when I'm around people to have a good image of what a good Christian might be like. Um, that's about all I can try to do.
right. Be the best person that you can. Um, looking back, looking back, Jerry, on your life and playing baseball and going to the Navy and working in insurance and everything. What advice would you give to young people now? Some people might want to play pro baseball. Some people might not want to play pro baseball. Well, I mean, you've lived seems like a good life. What would you say to them from what you've learned in life?
Go to school and study. Get a good education. I mean, a really good education. You'll go anywhere you want to go if you got that. Your dream of being a professional baseball player, you better have an education, because there's only a small percentage of people, I mean, that go into the pros. I mean, look at Florida. They won, the Gators won the national championship. How many of them got drafted? About 7. But that's a team of probably got 20 people on it, 25 people maybe. And your odds, you gotta figure the odds. And that is one thing that you said before. Would I change in my life? Yeah, I wish I would have hit the books, but I developed very, very early a way of, I mean, I could cram like you wouldn't believe. The night before a test, I might not know a thing about it, but I could go in that test the next day and I could make a good grade on it. And that's a dumb thing to do. You need to study ahead of time. Just get a good education, a good rounded education. You'll be able to communicate with people. You'll be a good person to be around, because you can have conversations, and that's about all I got to say about that.
All
Education.
right.
Here,
Education. Thank you,
here,
Jerry. Same question to you, Freddie. I want to hear your answer.
let me say this before I answer your question. You asked Jerry about the bonding that has been between us. Um, when we first actually played the game in 1955, as little as we knew that we,
Oh, you're muted, Freddie. You're muted again.
I'm sorry, but when the documentary had come into existence, we even got a chance to bond more. And when we met here in Pensacola, you can tell that the bonding was forever. And so even though we grew up in when times were segregated, But I tell you, I just actually believe that we do have a divine love for each other as results of coming together.
Amen,
I
brother.
remember when and you remember when we was in Cleveland and the guy asked Bill Hudson a question about how he answered the questions, and he asked Bill, did he still feel the same as he feel now? And Bill told him no. He said, no, I don't feel like that anymore. He said, because Freddie and I have become real good friends. So when you learn people, then you can do better. But if you don't, like Jerry said, you gotta come together. You got to learn people. You got to study people, and know that when I'm cut, I'll bleed, and when Jerry's cut, he'll bleed, and then we can find ways that we can love each other. And that's a good thing, because every time I think about the guys from Orlando, uh, I just rejoice knowing that I have friends all over the world that some people probably would never establish a relationship like we established in 1955.
So real quick before we go, we're just about out of time, Freddie. So what advice would you give to the young people that are watching? Some might want to pursue a pro career. Some might want to, do something else in life. What advice would you give after, living this wonderful life?
Well, Jerry and I, we have the same philosophy when it comes to life. Just like he said, only a few that will make professional sports. So you got to have something else that you can hang your hat on when your sports career is over with. The key is education. That's something nobody can take away from you once you obtain it. So that means you got to have study time. You got to have study time. You got to have time that you get in the books. You hit them hard, and that's the time that you got to, be away from your friends for a period of time. But if you're going to be successful in life, you got to study. I mean, you got to be sincere about your education. I'm like Jerry again. I didn't do as good as I should have done when I was going to school, but I wish now I had done better. Even in my late age, I still wish I had done better in school.
Okay, well, both of you offered some excellent words of wisdom, some great perspective. We had some really great questions from our students out there. I'm sorry I couldn't get to them all, but both of you, thank you so much for joining us. We were joined by Freddie Augustine and Jerry Cowart, players in the 1955 Little League game and subjects in the documentary. I'm glad that this is like a reunion for you two as well too.
That it is.
It is, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that you were able to share some honest insight on your lives and about the game and just in general. We got a lot out of it. I really thank you both for your time
Thank you.
today.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Welcome. And thank you to our student audience for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about the upcoming 45th Cleveland International Film Festival, please continue to follow CIFF on social media or visit clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.
Bye.